We're having two amazing guests in the house with us today who would be sharing their experiences with us, letting us know what is happening, what is happening in the breastfeeding space as regards breastfeeding in public, and other conversations around that as we wrap up the conversation on breastfeeding, because breastfeeding week is ending tomorrow. So definitely we're wrapping up that conversation this morning. Now, one of our guests that will be joining us virtually is Tochi Opara. She's a mother of three, a public servant, an entrepreneur, and she's dedicated to assisting young mothers in managing stress by taking control of their activities, prioritizing their needs guilt-free, living a happy and fulfilled mom life through her social media platform, which is Talking Mom Stress. Now we have also with us Temitope Osimokun, who is a multi-passionate individual. She's a lawyer, a human resource practitioner, and an administrator. She's also referred to as the budget queen when she helps people to spend and save wisely. And through the years, she has shared knowledge, developed people's leadership potentials and personal skills because she is passionate about human capacity and development. Temitope Osimokun is married and blessed with two lovely children. Thank you so much for being our guest this morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so let me kickstart with as regards breastfeeding, not even just like in public now. There's a video we watched before we came back on air, and this woman was speaking about breastfeeding her baby and you know, her family members, her in-laws giving her different concoctions. Because we have talked about breastfeeding and, you know, allowing someone else breastfeed for you, know, also taking bottle feeding and formula and all of that in the course of the week. Yeah. But now someone has come out to give another perspective of, you know, people giving her concoctions as a way of ensuring she lactates better. What's your take on that? How can she also, if she wants to say, no, please, I don't want this, how can she maintain that relationship with her in-laws?
Wow, that's a big question. It's for each family, it's different. The way you speak to your in-laws, you have to be very careful here and know who you are talking to. But I guess the easy way to do it is just to come from a place of love. You know, now I'm talking as the lactating, I mean the mom. Please be gentle with me, you know, be nice. You know, you have to speak respectfully. If not, this woman will do you anyhow, and you don't want that. And then I'm hoping as well that the in-laws, they remember how it was, how they felt when they were, you know, in the same position, and that they're gentle and nice, and just tell her how to go about it. I mean, that's the way I'm thinking I'll do it when my children get married and I have to go and take care of, you know, the grandparents. So, I mean, that's what I would do. I'm hoping that people will come from a place of understanding and love. That's what I'm really hoping will happen.
Okay. Is it ideal? Is it appropriate for a woman to breastfeed in public?
I think it is. It's her right to do so. I think it is. What I would just advocate for her to do is to cover up properly and be prepared before, you know, because she knows she's going out. She knows she's going to be in public, and she knows that the baby will eat. So therefore, I mean, will suck. So therefore, she needs to wear the proper clothing, you know, take extra like covering, like a shield, so that she's not exposed. So if you go back to the first case scenario, you know, that's what some guy was trying to sexualize. There won't be any need for that if she had prepared ahead. So, I mean, it's her right. I think that she should be allowed to breastfeed in public. We cannot control the child at that time, and it's still a small baby, so why not? That's my own opinion.
All right. So now, I mean, the way you said, the response you gave now as regards, you know, just being prepared, have the shawl, have all of those. It's the same thing that...
Wear the proper bra, the proper clothing, so that
for
you can easily...
Yes. Because that's some of the responses we got when we asked people out there, and you know, a lot of them said, please just, you know, cover up and do the appropriate thing. Now, thank you very much for joining us, Tochi, this morning. Based on the first case study, what are your thoughts as regards that, you know, in people's, you know, exposing their breasts in public, in a public transportation system, and how people reacted, how the men reacted, and how the women reacted in support of her, and also those who chastised her?
Yes, well, the whole situation is just a really, will I say, sad one, but it could have been avoided, you know. Being in a public space, like the other guest said, you plan ahead of time. You know that you are going out, so it's appropriate for you to, like, take necessary cover ups and all of that. But at the same time, I don't know, in her defense, assume that she must have felt from beggar to Mowe is not far. We can, quickly get there. And in her own defense, maybe the baby had eaten before leaving the house, or, the distance is quite short. So before we get to Mowe, the baby might not even demand for breast and all of that. But the way the man even raised his voice at her and attacked her, it was so uncalled for, it was rude, it was unnecessary. It doesn't take anything to have empathy for other people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, so it doesn't take anything to be nice or to have empathy for people. And say there's just this unspoken law about nursing mothers and pregnant women. There's usually a preference given to this type of people. So imagine if I would say that is everybody's responsibility in that bus to protect that woman. So even if she didn't have a cover cloth as at that time, there's nothing she could have done. It would have been like the way to look away, look somewhere else while she's breastfeeding, because there was nothing she could have done at that point in time. He was the same person who raised his voice and said the child was disturbing his call. And at that point in time, there was nothing she could have done. Okay, so it's everybody's responsibility in that bus to protect that woman and her baby. Imagine an outsider, somebody in another bus insulting her. What would the passengers in that her bus do? They would have stood up for her, and talked to the other passengers. But as the case is now, it's just a pity that her breast was a topic of debate that day.
Yeah. She will learn from it.
Yes, I mean, it's just sad that she was the topic of discussion, like you said. All right, now moving away from that, now people's perception of breastfeeding in public can be a concern sometimes.
Like we found out in those case studies.
Yeah. So now, is it ideal? How can people themselves? I understand that it can be offensive to some. How can other people that see such scenarios that they are not comfortable with, how can they be mild in their tone and just say, please, can you help, without making the mother feel so startled and start feeling like there's something wrong with her?
So first of all, I would say that it has to do with knowledge, information. We need to pass out this information to more people so that they can become more tolerant of what is going on here. I mean, every child born of a woman probably sucked at one point in time, and so they understand that if a child is feeding, then you understand where the mother is coming from. She has that maternal instinct to, give the child food. But at the same time, like we earlier said, the mother too has to be prepared. I mean, look at the second scenario, for instance. Yes, dad had the key to the cars, but she knew that, at some point, that child would feed. And then she also didn't need to be, told to go back because the child would disturb and cry. You need to, I think, plan ahead.
So to be proactive,
you have to be very proactive about these things. You have to pack and all of that. But with other people, they have to become tolerant and speak nicely to the mom. She will even respond to to you better if you tell her in a nice manner. Oh, why did you next time come up with a shield, or something that to that effect. And I think that will make the world a better place. Actually.
Exactly.
Okay, so now I mean, speaking about making the world a better place. Now, in the second case study, okay, I think I'll direct this to Tochi first. In the second case study, we saw that it was a church scenario. How can churches be more tolerant? Now, this is why I'm asking this. The usher said, please, can you move to the back of the church? I know many churches, even in my church, if you're a breastfeeding mom, you don't even sit.
You stay at the back.
Once you're a breastfeeding mom, you don't
or you stay outside
where everybody is sitting. You stay outside. There's a corner for you so that there's no story of, please excuse me, I want to carry my baby outside. So how much more tolerant can churches be? Is it that they have to remind maybe during the service and say, please, if you're a breastfeeding mom, please remember that this is your corner. Always ensure that you come with the things that you need to make your, what are the things that they can do as religious?
Of course, you need to keep reminding people, because it's not like they're just flouting these rules or laws in the church, but it's an unspoken law, Seth. when you get to church, you just sit behind. You know that your baby will cry or your baby will feed. You don't have to interrupt the people other people listening to the sermon. Okay. And then some other thing that the churches might do is to provide necessary facilities. You can have like a nursery, and then have a projector in there that mothers can, also partake in the service, as the case may be. You have a changing area. It doesn't take much. The same way you have your children's church, you can have a place for mothers to stay. And at the end of the day, they're not disturbing everybody. We are all in the same space. If you want to breastfeed, you can breastfeed, you can change diapers, you can do whatever we want, you know. And then as ushers, or church workers, just always come from a place of love. Put yourself in the mother's shoes. It's not like this mother in this case didn't plan. She had her things. But again, she should have taken them with her into the church, because you know that you need those things. You don't have to like run out during the service, or you want to get to the car and then your husband is not with the key and all of that. So just like we said, plan ahead of time, and then for the church, provide those necessary facilities, and then keep reminding mothers, okay, nursing moms, you can sit at the back. It's not like we are segregating or anything, but for your own convenience and your own safety, just this is the space allocated for you guys and all of that.
All right. Okay. So now some individuals, let me quickly ask you this before my guest here responds to it. So some individuals argue that breastfeeding should be done in private to maintain etiquette and modesty. Now, how do you respond to such viewpoints, and what are your thoughts on striking a balance between personal comfort and public acceptance?
Well, when you're talking about done in private, it's not like there's any designated area for people to go and breastfeed. But the thing is, for your own comfort and the comfort of your baby, what you can do is look for a place that is less crowded. I think that's the best anybody can do, so that you reduce or you minimize the number of gazes that you're getting, and then you don't know who you might trigger. Just like the man in the first case study, who was being derogatory and sexualizing the situation. So just look for a private or a less crowded area. If you are somewhere around a restaurant, or those days we used to have empty blocks of classes or something. If you're around those type of areas, you can just stay in one of those restaurants. Tell them, okay, please, I like to breastfeed and I just want to stay in a corner, or even buy something. If it's meat pie or a drink, and just sit down in a private corner and do your thing. But to say that it's not like when you want to breastfeed in public, then you have to start running home to go and breastfeed. There's no really private area or private region to do it. So just look for a less crowded place and do your thing.
All right, so look for a less crowded place and do your thing. Is that your opinion too?
Yes, I quite agree with our guest speaker as well. I mean, sometimes there's no place to breastfeed, and then you can just, like she said, move to a quiet corner. You can even face back. You don't
turn back.
Yes, turn back, so that that privacy is being protected as well. So you're doing all the things you can do. But the public, in terms of the government now and public places generally, we can also take it a step further by providing places like this for breastfeeding mothers to go to. Like airports, like churches, which he rightly said. Some churches will go ahead and provide a room just for breastfeeding mothers to do so, to go and do their bit. Some of them don't have it, but they make them sit at the back of the church so that, for quick access and all of that. So all these things that we can do. Again, it boils down to the human being. We just need to be tolerant of each other. I think that is what will help all this situation. We cannot make derogatory remarks about what is going on. Okay, so she has made the mistake. She forgot, what she needs to. Yeah, she forgot what she needed to do. But she's in the situation now. Make it better. That was the situation. I actually applaud the women in the vehicle with her who stood up to the to the matter. I wish more men will also be tolerant of it. Knowing that hopefully their wives are doing the same thing as well. And just to we should just speak nicely to each other. It makes the world a better place.
Yes. All right, now some passages in the first case study suggested that the nursing mother should borrow the cloth of another person on the bus. Now, in terms of hygiene, is this appropriate? Now, this to Tochi.
No. If I was in her shoes, I wouldn't have even accepted it. If it's your clothes, please, by all means, use it to cover your own face and look somewhere else. We don't know how hygienic the piece of cloth is. For me, it's just a no. It's just a no. No,
Okay.
I wouldn't accept it.
All right. I know. I saw. I mean, you were literally
Agree with
you were
her.
agreeing and saying no, no,
No. I wouldn't
no.
take it as well. I wouldn't do that. I think I made the error already. I'll just, continue, and then next time I, guard against it. But
So that's she has made the error. So she should have just like leave the boobs out like that and just look for a hand to cover it. Or
yes,
something.
she didn't have to expose everything. Just,
In moderation.
Yes.
Okay, now that we can see that these things that happen every day. Some people actually prepare, and I mean, anything can happen. There have been scenarios where a woman forgets her baby's bag, and then she just has to manage because I mean, she's out of the house. She probably can't go back easily.
Yeah.
Now, what practical tips, can you recommend to nursing mothers in order to comfortably breastfeed outside their homes?
Oh, so one of the things like I would do, which I mentioned earlier, is to prepare ahead. So the chances of forgetting that item or those items will be slim.
Okay.
If I prepare like hours ahead and all of that, that's one thing. I would also wear comfortable clothing. So you have, I don't know what to call it now, like let's assume it's a Muslim woman. She has the, what they call it?
I think it's
Hijab.
niqab.
Something, but we know what we're talking about. Yes. So you have
the
that
hijab,
the hijab, the long
hijab,
one.
yes,
And so the child, in some cases, you see that there's a child there. You'll be surprised. You're like, oh, she's actually breastfeeding, So we can, dress up that way to ensure that there's a shield for this child and for yourself as well, because of you mentioned the etiquette of the public place as well.
Yes.
So you have to look good, and you have to also feed the baby, and you are ensuring both is happening at the same time, and everybody's happy at the end of the day. So that's what we do. I think that planning ahead would solve a lot of these issues that mothers could have in the first place. But dressing appropriately too will also help. Easy wear that if I'm seeing the breast, I'm just seeing maybe just the tip of the areola.
Just a little.
Yes.
Okay, so now I mean, Tochi, you also said prepare ahead. Now we've heard prepare ahead again. What other tips do you have for breastfeeding mothers?
Okay, just to add to what she said, wearing comfortable clothing. You should wear clothes that have the front zip or buttons for easy access, and of course, use a nursing bra. When you're wearing a nursing bra, you're not exposing the entire breast. Like we said before, find a place that is less crowded, turn your back away from them, and then feed your baby. Another thing I also add is if it's your goal, like to ensure that your child is always taking breast milk, you can consider investing in a very good breast pump or a portable insulated warmer. So when you're leaving your house, you take the quantity of milk frozen that that will be enough for that duration. And then when you want to feed, you heat it up and give your baby. You don't necessarily have to nurse at that point in time. And then something else I would also advise every mom or nursing mom, when you're leaving your house, like I always say, there are 4 things that should always be in your diaper bag, your outing bag: your diaper, your wipes, a change of clothes, and a wrapper. Now that wrapper, it can be your normal Ankara, how the wrappers we have, or it can be a feeding cloth. It should always be in your diaper bag every time. If you've exhausted what's in there, replace it. Just let it always be in your diaper bag, because emergencies happen. Your baby might have a spit up. You'd have to change. Like in this case of the mother wearing a tight clothing, or she didn't have anything to cover. There will always be something for you a piece of cloth for you to pick up and cover yourself up and feed your baby. So these things are really important. Plan ahead of time. Wear comfortable clothing. Invest in good breast pumps or portable insulated warmers. Find a private place away from the crowd to feed your baby, and all of that.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Tochi Opara, for being one of our guests this morning.